Hi, I'm Bill Vales, and I'm here today for this version of Tech Talk with Nancy Hilsinger. Nancy, welcome.
Glad to be here.
Yep, glad to have you. And we're here to talk about email, and this is a topic that we've talked about in the past, but email technology changes, so I think it's appropriate that we talk about email some more. And you and I were confronted with some email changes this spring and summer, which really resulted in this show.
The show, yeah.
What were some of the issues that you had with email?
Well, my biggest problem was the number of devices that I was using and trying to synchronize the email across. I had 4 devices that I was getting email on.
Okay.
And then at first it was no big deal. I had one and I thought, that's fine. And then as I got other devices, it got very complicated, time consuming, everything. So I just decided trying to synchronize the email was too much trouble, so.
Yep. And you had a laptop or two, a desktop?
No, we don't even count the laptop. I had a computer, an iPad, an iPhone, and another computer. I have a laptop that I don't even talk about.
Okay, okay.
So what was your big issue?
Well, my problem was I got this email from Verizon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was a Verizon email user, and they said, hey, we don't do a good job with email.
Which you knew.
So, yeah, which I knew. And their email service was going to go away, and they were advising to either use America Online, which happened to be a company that they had purchased about a year prior, or I could change to another email provider. And frankly, I was thinking about changing from Verizon for years. I wanted to get away from Verizon email. So that was my problem. And there were, as we started talking, there were just a number of issues that we had to go through, from moving your email from one system to another, moving your contacts.
Which system to go with.
Which system to go with.
Yeah. What features do they have? What do you want? Yeah. Complicated.
It was very complicated. Now, how long have you been using email?
Oh my gosh. I started using email when I was at DEC.
Okay.
I remember those days. And I think I want to say mid to late 70s maybe it started. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right to me. I was a former decade too,
yeah.
and I remember using email in around 1972, 73, when it was just text.
Yeah, well, we first we had Vax mail, which was very much like the text mail today. I hadn't even thought about that, but that's very much like that. And then we switched to all-in-one, which was sort of like, more like what email looks like today.
A little bit of the Office of the Future is what it was back then.
Little did we know. And then we went to Outlook I think that was the last one we did.
But even before we went to Outlook, you could only send text messages.
Oh, right.
Back and forth. You couldn't send pictures or attachments.
Oh, no. Well, you couldn't send pictures because you'd have to, how would you even get it? I don't remember when we got email at home. I honestly don't remember, but I know that the first email provider we had was Net1 Plus, and we had a dial-up modem, I think 56K modem, wow. And oh my gosh, it took half an hour to download our email, and half of that was junk.
Yeah. Now, of course, back then, not many people had email outside of your work environment, so it wasn't like people were sending you messages.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
but
right.
From a work perspective, I mean, a company like DEC Digital was using email exclusively as their form of communication back in the 70s. When we started thinking about what email systems you should use, what email systems I I should use. You know, we talk about the requirements and whatnot, and there were a lot of terminology that we really,
Oh, yeah.
you really have to get straight when
Yep.
you're making decisions like this. So I think to go through some of the terminology for the audience is makes sense. And we'll start with the term ISP, and that stands for Internet Service Provider. And I think a lot of people have probably heard that term. And the Internet Service Provider is the company that provides us with the connection to the Internet.
So that would be like a Comcast or Verizon. Those two come to mind. I don't know if there are any others.
Yeah.
Are there others? Is that
There
pretty
are
much it?
others. I know in New Hampshire we have Fairpoint.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But there are other companies. I think Time Warner Cable.
Oh, could be.
Maybe.
Yeah. But those are the two big ones.
Those are the
Yeah.
ones. So you think of the Internet Service Provider as the people that bring the wire to your house.
Right.
Think of it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
And then we have the concept of server, okay, and that's a concept that we need to get familiar with. And a server is some sort of system that's going to provide some sort of service.
So there are different kinds
To
of
it.
service.
Yeah, I mean, for this show, we'll be talking a lot about email
Email
servers, that the server is going to provide various functions for supporting email. But if you were using Amazon, let's say,
Me?
yeah, to buy
Hard to
something,
believe, yeah, but yeah.
you'd be using an Amazon server for what they call B2B, business to business.
So every time I log into one of those many retailers that I use, I'm logging into their server.
You're logging into their server,
Okay.
and they're providing whatever service you're expecting to use. You know, in the case of purchasing things, it's, you know, like a B2B, business to business sort of thing.
I take that so for granted today. I know years ago I vowed I was never going to shop online. I'm not doing that. It's too risky. My life is Amazon.
Yeah, right. Now, in the beginning, like we were talking about it at DEC, things were really simpler, or were they? Basically, we connected to the internet or connected to the ISP using our client, okay? And then we logged into the email server, which maybe back then was AOL or whoever our email server was, and then we read our email,
Well,
and we sent our email.
in my case, it really was simpler because I had one computer. So I received email, I read the email, I either deleted it, filed it, or replied, and then I filed the reply. That was it. It's not that simple today because now I have 4 things and it's difficult.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember when you used to dial into the internet?
Oh, yeah.
That your modem would
Yeah.
make all those sounds.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, we didn't dial in that often, but every time you dialed in, you had to get that sound. And it was just...
Yeah, and then the sounds went away after it connected.
Yes, thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, those sounds were actually telling you, giving you an audio indication of how that connection between the client, your system, and the server, they were negotiating a connection.
Yeah, I never knew that. I never knew that before. Yeah. Never knew that. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
I did Google. I did Google dial-up noises, and I got a diagram of the actual progression of those noises and what it, so each one did do something.
It told us where the steps of that negotiation or handshaking is what they call that.
Yeah, and it took about, I put one on my phone and it's about 30 seconds. So think about every time you
That's right.
wanted to get email, 30 seconds of that nonsense. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't nonsense.
It wasn't nonsense. It is now. Looking back, it's nonsense.
Now, back then we didn't get a lot of email because a lot of people weren't using email. But as more and more people got connected to the internet, and as our businesses that we worked for started using email more, the complexity of managing
Oh, yes.
the email
Oh, yeah.
really built up. I know there was a point when I was working at Digital, I would get 250 emails a day.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, I mean, even...
Oh, my God, never got that many.
Yeah, it was crazy, and you
Wow.
really couldn't process them all at one time, so you needed
yeah.
a way to organize
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
And that's where the concept of folders came in very, very handy, that you could organize your email based on topics, or perhaps who sent you the email, and you could create a folder for them and take that email and stick it in a folder.
I think that's very important that we have that folder concept because, and even with that, I now have the situation where, what folder did I put it in? And you're looking for it and you need to kind of be able to search for it because at the time it makes perfect sense. Well, I'll put it in this folder and then I go looking for it and go, where is it? And it's not where I thought it was. So that's a issue.
Yeah, and there's no hard and fast rule about what's a good folder structure.
No, it's whatever works for you.
Yeah, it's whatever works for you. But you do bring up another important point, that being able to search for email both within a folder and across folders is very important, because it's very easy to lose email.
Yeah, I never thought of that before, but, and I don't, it's not really lost, it's just hidden in the depths of.
Well, if your keys are lost in your house, I guess they're not lost.
They're not really
you just
lost.
can't
You don't know
find
where
them.
they are, that's all.
Right,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
it's the same with,
thing, yeah.
Same with
yeah.
email. There's with the various email systems that we use, most of them nowadays have some sort of folder functionality. Some are certainly better than others, but we have a few examples to show the audience. And one of the examples is Windows Live Mail.
That's what you used.
That's what I used on Verizon.
Yeah.
And that was similar to Microsoft Outlook, which I think...
Oh, okay, I used that for a while.
Yeah, a lot of people at work use Microsoft Outlook.
Yeah.
Companies would buy unlimited Microsoft licenses.
Oh, right, yeah.
And put all these Outlook clients on people's desks, and everyone would use Outlook. And the server in that case would be the Exchange server, the Microsoft Exchange server. So I went to Windows Live Mail because I was used to using Windows Microsoft Outlook.
Right.
So,
keep it simple.
So I went to that and had all the functionality. Now, another email system that people use that originated from the open source world was Thunderbird.
That's what I used. Yeah. And I liked it. It was good.
Yeah, it's a...
except for the whole 4-device thing.
Yeah, well, that's more symptomatic of the email client.
It's not Thunderbird's fault, because that was good.
But Thunderbird had a lot of functionality similar to Microsoft Outlook or Windows Live Mail. And you'll see in these examples that there's various folders, like there's the inbox folder, the draft folder, the sent folder. But then there's also 3 folders that I created in these examples. One is called Birds, one's called Geology, and one is called Test folder. And you'll see in all these examples that I'm able to have each of those in there. So they all sort of look the same.
yeah.
You know, they all sort of look the same. Now, there's a little more terminology that we have to get to.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there really is.
I'm shocked.
And I've been a little loose with the terminology up to this point, but we have this idea of an email client. And an email client is, the email is actually stored on your computer. So when you're using Thunderbird, or I'm using Windows Live Mail, the email, once we read it from the server, it's stored on our
computer.
Computer.
Yep.
And that's kind of where you got into the issue of I want it stored on all my computers, but you've...
Well, it is. It's just in all different places.
Yeah. And then there's webmail. Okay.
Now, are there folders on webmail?
Well, there certainly are
Yeah,
folders
yeah,
on webmail.
yeah.
I mean, they realize that folders are, you know, an intricate piece of functionality that's needed in any usable email environment. And some examples of webmail systems are Gmail, which is Google's email system, Yahoo, Outlook.com, not to be confused with Microsoft Outlook.
Yeah.
Okay, Outlook.com is actually Microsoft's webmail email system. And Comcast and Verizon offer a webmail system that I don't find very good. In fact, I find them
Terrible.
terrible. Yeah, I don't find
Go
them
ahead,
very
say
good.
it.
And then AOL also has a webmail system. And with a webmail system, the email is stored on the server.
On the server.
On the server.
Now, can they have folders?
They have folders.
Yeah.
Yep, they certainly have folders. But the nice thing about having your email stored on the server is that whenever you log into the server, your email is there. Okay,
That is a very nice feature.
yeah, it's there. It's in the same place. So
Yeah.
if you log into the email server from your phone, from your desktop,
Anywhere.
from your iPad,
Yeah.
your email is still there. Where with an email client, your email is only on
Well, it's
that client.
It's there, but you have to deal with it each time there, you know, and do stuff to it.
Yeah, and it's
which is
just
ridiculous.
yeah, it
Not that I needed to have 4 devices, but the reality is I do, so
Well,
I need
I
to adjust to that.
let's face it, nowadays people have laptops, they have phones, they have iPads,
yeah.
and sometimes if they're over someone else's house and they want to check their email and they've left all their devices at home, they
Yeah.
want to be able to log in and
Very
look,
handy, yeah.
and look at their email. So you have email client, and then we have webmail systems. So those are important concepts. Now, I've got a couple examples here of 2 webmail systems. And one is Yahoo webmail here. And you can see in this Yahoo example that there's a series of folders here. There's the inbox, the sent folder, spam, trash, which are fairly standard built-in folders for any email system. But you see here, there's also the folders that I created. There's birds, geology, test folders, so you know we can still have that. And then on the Gmail example, you see the similar sort of thing here where I have birds, geology, and test folder.
But now, does Gmail have folders per se? They don't, kind of.
They're sort of like folders.
Folders, okay.
They're actually called labels.
Labels, yeah.
Okay, they're called labels, and labels have the, let's say, the benefit that they allow you to associate emails with multiple topics.
Right.
And it also lets you search, because let's face it, Google is all about searching.
And that's a very good feature because that allows, you don't lose as much email as with before.
Right.
Yeah.
And we agreed we're never going to talk about labels today.
We did agree on that.
Yeah, that's why there's going to be more than one show on this particular topic.
Well, I know when you talk about it, where your email is stored, I found that out. I guess I never thought about it,
Yeah.
but I never wanted to go to webmail because I thought, oh no, my mail will be out there, and I don't want it out there where I don't know what.
Yeah.
And so, but about a month ago, my email was coming in on one computer, but not the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, I knew about webmail, but I thought, well, So I went to the Comcast webmail site, and sure enough, there they were. So I thought, they're out there.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you were using Thunderbird as your email
Here's
client.
my email is right here where I can get at it. Yeah.
It didn't mean it was just there.
No.
Because it originated at the server.
At the server, yeah.
Okay, in your
Yeah.
case, at the Comcast server.
Yeah.
And so it was already out there.
So that was one of those aha moments they talk about.
It was definitely out there. So on this diagram that I have here for the audience, we see here the young fellow sitting at the computer, and that's considered the client. That's like you or I sitting at our home computer, and that when we either send email to someone or receive email from someone, it always goes through the ISP. You remember that term that we talked about?
Internet service provider.
Internet service provider.
Yeah.
The people that provide us the connectivity to the internet, in this case, Verizon or Comcast. And then on the other side of that are the actual email servers, which could be, it depends who you're using for email, Yahoo, Gmail, Outlook.com. There's literally hundreds of them.
So the email client in this context is a piece of software that resides on your device, your laptop, your tablet, whatever. And then the email server is where everything resides, the guts of it all.
Certainly in a webmail environment, that's where the email is actually stored. It's only, in a webmail environment, it's only being brought to your display through a browser.
Right.
Okay, but when you and I were using Live Mail and Thunderbird, we were actually bringing the mail over to our system, and it was being stored on our system and needed to be managed on the system. Where with a webmail environment, we're allowing the server to do the managing of that. So why do we change our email? I mean, in your case, you had
too many things.
Too many devices.
Yeah.
You know, in my case, if I have a number of devices, and if I picked up one device to go on the road that didn't have my Windows Live Mail, it meant that I don't have any of my folders.
Oh, right, yeah.
I didn't have any of my folders. They were on the other computer. And
well, I ran into, if I answered an email on my iPad, it didn't get to my computer where I had all the folders, where I was managing my folders, because in the iPad I have inbox, send, trash, that's it.
Right.
So I would have to always copy myself again so it got to my computer, and that's where it got unwieldy.
Yeah. And it does very quickly.
Yeah.
With two devices, you think you can handle it. Three, you know that there's a real issue. There's something isn't working right. Now, another reason to change, that you may want to change your email is, what if you're using your ISP as your email provider? That in my case, I was using Verizon email, okay? And Verizon also provided the wire to my house. Now, a problem associated with that is, say I finally had it with Verizon, which could happen. But say I finally had it with Verizon and I said, okay, I want to go to Comcast. If all my emails on my Verizon system, it's gone.
Yeah, I don't think we think about that. I don't think people realize that, and they make that change. And that's a very important point, that, you know, it's gone. It's not like, oh, well, I'll just bring it over or I'll change it. It's gone.
Yeah, if you close your account with Verizon,
Yeah.
it's gone.
Yeah.
You close your account with Comcast, it's gone. And not only is your email gone, all your contacts are gone, all your email folders are gone. So having your email provider to be the same business company as your ISP is not a good
idea.
It's really not a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's something I highly encourage people to not do. And certainly in the case of Verizon, where they said, well, we don't do email very well, switch to AOL. I'm thinking, you want me to switch to a 90s company?
Yeah.
Okay, it just didn't make sense to me. And another thing with email systems, and even webmail systems, is not all webmail systems are created equal.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. Sure.
So, what email system did you change to?
Gmail.
You changed to Gmail.
Yeah, and I love it. I took a little getting used to, and I'm still learning things, but I put together, as you can imagine, I put together a little cheat sheet of where everything was and stuff, and I'm loving it. I have to remember, though, when I do something on my, particularly deleting, you have to be careful with. If I read an email on my iPad, and then I go into my computer, it's already been read. I mean, I don't have to deal with it 50 times, you know, and even if I put it somewhere, it's done. Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Well, I was going to change to Outlook.com.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was going to change to, because it really looks similar to Windows Live Mail, which looks similar to Microsoft Outlook. And then at the final moment, I became convinced that I needed to change to Gmail, that using the entire Google infrastructure.
That's a plus.
You know, it just made sense to look for Gmail, for me to deal with Gmail. So that's what I did. And
I never realized that Gmail was Google. I don't know why. I thought it was some flyby. A lot of my friends had Gmail, and I thought, oh, this is some stupid little fly-by-night. And it's not. It's really, I mean, I would have done it ages ago if I'd known.
And Google is rooted in the concept of searching, and having that capability really sharpened in an email environment is good. But
I've used that a lot since I got it. I've been things I've been looking for and go, where did I put that? And the other thing is being able to have multiple ways to search is a big help.
Yeah. But we're not going to talk about any of the Gmail stuff on this show.
No.
We have to have that on another show, because there were a number of steps that we had to go through to make this transition possible.
Oh, yeah.
We had to move over our contacts, which was a big thing. If you have 100 contacts, you want to move those over in somewhat of a seamless.
Although in my case, for some reason, I figured out how to do it. I looked it up, and it really was easy.
It can be easy.
It can be hard.
It can be easy. it actually worked out for me as well. So, well, we almost did it in about 30
Did we?
minutes.
We
Yeah,
almost did.
very,
Pretty
very
close.
So,
I'll talk to the editor.
yeah. So at this point, we've reviewed a lot of email concepts. Okay, and I think in our next show we'll get into some of the details of the changes that we had to make. You know, some of the changes were similar that we both had to make, but because of your environment, you made.
Right. Well, there's a lot to it, and it's not something, well, I think I'll change my email. Well, it's not that simple. You really have to think it through. So I think we've touched on a good number of points,
Yep.
but there's a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of moving parts to it. So thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching this Tech Talk on email. Stay tuned for the next part in this series of email. And practice, practice, practice. We'll see you next time.